And we're back, 100,000 people expected for the weekend. We're with Stevie Salas. Stevie, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, I have no choice. I have to be here. I get paid to be here.
Well, we're going to zoom in later, but right behind us seems to be a signature guitar. What's the deal with the signature guitar?
You know, for the last, I did my first signature guitar deal in the late 80s. 1990, I had my own model Yamaha. 96, I had my own model Washburn. I had my own model Kuparison in 2000. And then I kind of got sick of designing guitars. And then just recently, about 3 years ago, I went to Germany and I was at a party there and I met Hans Peter, who owns Warwick and Framus. And we just started talking, and he said his father created the Framus brand and he wanted to bring it back because of his father had passed away. And it really touched my heart because my father and I, from Oceanside, California, where I grew up, we were really tight. So I said, you know what, I want to come and design a guitar. So I designed this guitar, the Idolmaker, and it exploded, and they're all over the planet now. And so now what we do is we design all these different versions of it, and I come to these kind of shows every once in a while, stand around like this and talk to guys like you.
Now, you're originally a Southern California, but do you remember your very first guitar?
Yeah, my first real guitar I got, I wrote about it in my book, actually. I lived down in the valley in Oceanside, and my brother-in-law used to build boats, and we would race motocross, and he'd work on my motocross bikes, and he'd build boats in he built my surfboards, like he'd make them from scratch. You know, back then we weren't like rich parents, we didn't buy that stuff like we do now. It's like, so he made my surfboards, and he made me a Stratocaster copy, and that was my guitar, and I ended up selling it, and then getting a guitar called The Paul from Guitar Center in San Diego from the great Jack Butler, who worked there, who was in the Brats. He was a sales guy. I was in 15, and after that, then I bought Luke Albano from Neptune, who was my favorite band in San Diego. I bought his Ibanez Les Paul copy thing, which I wish I still had. And then I started working at Musicians Exchange in Carlsbad, and Joe Orndorff, the owner, loved me like a son, so he ordered me a Dean guitar from Chicago for me and Pat Pinamani when we were in the band This Kids. And recently, I sold that guitar to a Marine in like 1982 or something like that, and it just showed up on Facebook. A guy writes me and he says, "Hey, is this your guitar?" And I looked at it and I go, "Wow, I had one of those like in 1983 or 81 or whatever it was." And he goes, I go, "Why do you think it's mine?" He goes, "Because look at the case." And he sends a picture of the case, and it said This Kid's on the case. And the guy was in Wisconsin. And I'm like, how did a guy in Wisconsin end up with my guitar that I sold in Oceanside, California, like 100 years earlier? And how did he even associate me with This Kids? He didn't associate me with Mick Jagger or Rod Stewart or Justin Timberlake or any of that stuff I do. It was This Kids. And he goes, "Yeah, some guy came over and saw that." And he goes, "Hey, Stevie Salas used to have a band called This Kids." I'm like, that's what blew me away. So I'm trying to get that old Dean guitar back now as we speak, actually.
Hearing stories like that reminds me, I sold a 62 Strat to pay the rent one year, umpteen million years ago, $100.
Yeah.
You think it's worth $100 today?
Well, you wouldn't pay the rent with that now. You'd buy the house with that now. You know what I mean?
Pretty much. And now we have your own model guitars.
Yeah, I like doing it. It's a good hobby. When you get to go to these custom shops. You can pick whatever wood you want, whatever pickups you want. And I'm a lucky guy. I get free guitars from everybody, and I get free pickups, and I get the carte blanche of bridges and all the stuff I want to try. And so I have a good time. It's like experimenting, and then like Nicky Sixx just bought one of my guitars, and he sends me videos of him playing it, and that kind of stuff just turns me on. It makes me so excited to see people enjoying it and having fun, and something that I created, and that's kind of fun. That's the way I have a good time nowadays.
What a lot of your fans may not know is you're also very involved with charity events. I recently got you in San Diego at a charity event. You're very involved with that kind of stuff. You kind of have a home club still here.
Well, I would like to start coming home to Carlsbad and Oceanside more, not just when one of my friends is sick or dying. It's like, we're all getting old and it's a bit depressing, but I call Ron Blair from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and I call Bernard Fowler from the Stones, and I call whatever my rock star friends that can come down, and we get together in Oceanside with all the old gang, and it's a supportive group. And it's ironic because my friends that I went to school with and that I graduated high school with in Oceanside are still my dearest friends. So it's not like I went away and, hey, I can't, I don't even go to my class reunions because I see all my friends from high school that I still want to see. The rest of them, I didn't know. So, Yeah.
Well, what's on the horizon in 2018 for you?
Well, my movie's up for a Canadian Screen Award, which is like the Canadian Academy Awards, my film Rumble. I'm speaking at South by Southwest this year because I'm doing a book signing there for my book, and then I'm also doing, I'm speaking because my film Rumble has just been turned into a school curriculum, history curriculum, which is pretty mind-blowing for me. And I had a gold album last year in Japan called Chubby Groove so I did a bunch of big stadiums and big shows. I'm going to go write a new album. And I don't know if I'll put it out this year or next year, and I'll go back and maybe, hopefully, keep playing those big shows before I get too old.
So you haven't really retired at all then, have you?
You know what's funny is I retired in 2000 because I'd been in the music business from 85. I left San Diego to LA, and I did pretty good. I had a pretty good run, sold a few million albums, and I was just sick of it. And I'd had some 7-figure years, so I had money in the bank, everything was great, and I said, I don't need this anymore. I started buying land in Costa Rica, and then I lost $1 million in the stock market. And then I was like, okay, now I have to go back to work. And luckily for me, Mick Jagger called, and it got me off the couch and re-inspired me. Jagger was so energetic and so amazing. It really re-inspired me. And then I did Justin Timberlake. Then I went to work at American Idol, and next thing I know, then I became a dad.
His energy is almost infectious. I mean, at his age, it's incredible what he still does.
It made me ashamed of myself. He would call me and talk about the smallest details, and I just thought, God, he's, at the time he was in his 60s, and it's like he doesn't need to care about that. He's Mick Jagger, but he does, and that's why he's so successful. And I music direct a lot of bands, and I talk to young people and young musicians. I'm like, man, it's like the smallest details make the biggest difference.
Well, I know there's people waiting for you. We appreciate your time very much. Hope to see you soon.
My man.
Thank you, brother.
Anything for the old hometown gang, you know that.
And we'll always be here for you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a little bit.